A very big welcome to all of you on your favorite YouTube channel. Now, friends, has started. CAT registration process has started. Now, your anxiety must have started generating inside you also, right? Now, friends, in the last 15-20 days, like a lot of students have told me, have requested me to conduct a session on how to select an LRDI set in this section. Now, over the last 1 month, students have been facing a problem while writing their mock test, while they are facing big problem as far as LRDI section is concerned, and they are asking me continuously, like, sir, we are unable to select a set. We are wasting a lot of time on a set. We enter a set, but we are unable to come out of that set. So students are facing plenty of problems in LRDI section when it comes to set selection. So friends, here I am, like I promised to all of you, telling you all about how to do good in LRDI section, especially when it comes to selecting a particular set, selecting 2 sets, 3 sets, or whatever number of sets, like what all different criteria, what all different parameters you should be keeping in your mind when it comes to a set selection. All right. Now, also, I'll be discussing how much time you should be spending on a particular set before you decide to leave it. This is very important to come out of a question, come out of a set if you could not understand anything. But how much time, how much minimum time you must spend, which is called a threshold time, right? So how much time you should spend before coming out of a set, before leaving it all together, right? So friends, let's get into this session. First of all, by understanding what was the pattern of LRDI section in CAT 2024 and CAT 2023. What type of questions were there and how much marks we needed to score to, let's say, get 95 percentile or that 90 percentile barrier to cross. All right. So beginning with the first thing, looking at CAT 2024, the last year, there were a total of 5 sets that we have seen in this section, right? Which was different from CAT 2023. So I'll come to CAT 23 as well, right? So there were a total of 5 sets, and these sets were divided in different number of questions. All right. So there were 3 sets having 4 questions each. So 3 into 4, 12 questions. And there were 2 sets of 5 questions each. So 2 into 5, 10. So in total, there were 22 questions that we saw in this section of CAT 2024. All right. Now, out of these 5 sets, in general, we can say that there were 2 sets from data interpretation. Now, we saw bubble charts in slot number 2. We saw candlestick charts in slot number 1, right? Those 2 charts were comparatively easier, right? Okay, so we could have done the entire one complete set when it comes to a set of data interpretation. Now, in all, there were 2 sets of data interpretation. This candlestick and bubble chart were in 2 different slots. So I'm not counting them together. Okay, but other than candlestick chart, there was one more set of data interpretation, right? Now, there was one set on games. If you remember, in slot number 1, there was a set on a game called 𝐁𝐀𝐄𝐒, right? So there was one set on games. If I look at the first slot of CAT 2024, and there were 2 sets on logical data interpretation, which had graphs. Again, talking about slot number 1. So the graphs were, both the graphs were bar graphs. Okay, right? So there were 2 sets like this in slot number 1. So this is a small breakup how LRDI section behaved in CAT 2024. Now, if we look at the score versus percentile, just to understand a little bit, if I will have 20 to 22 marks, I'm talking about marks, not the number of questions, of course. So if I get 20 to 22 marks, that means somewhere around 7 questions correct, just above 1 set. Okay, then I will get around 90 percentile. So a student who has scored somewhere around 20 marks is able to get 90 percentile in CAT 2024 LRDI section, and at 25 to 30 marks, somewhere around 9 to 10 questions correct. That means somewhere around 2 sets correct. A student was sitting at 95 percentile. I myself got 99 point something percentile and I attempted 3 sets. So at 3 sets, definitely you will get above 99 percentile. All right. So this is a little understanding about the score versus percentile, how it behaved in CAT 2024. Okay. Now I'm not telling you that the same marks you will be like if you'll get the same marks, you'll be getting the same percentile. No, not for CAT 2025, because nobody can tell you. You will understand it in a few minutes if you will look at CAT 2023. So this was CAT 2024. Now looking at CAT 2023. In CAT 2023, there were only 4 sets as compared to 5 sets in CAT 2024, right? Now, all these 4 sets had 5 questions each. So 4 into 5, that means 20 questions, right? Now, out of these 4 sets, 3 sets were on logical reasoning and 1 set was on data interpretation in general, talking about all the 3 slots combined. All right. Now, here comes the catch. When in CAT 24, a student who was getting 20 to 20 marks, 20 to 22 marks was getting 90 percentile. Here it dropped down to 15 to 18 marks, right? So in CAT 2023, a student who has scored around 15 to 18 marks, 6 to 7 correct, was able to get 90 plus percentile. And a student who could get 20 to 22 marks was able to get 95 percentile. So that means if I'll compare it with CAT 2024, a student having 20 to 22 correct, when in CAT 24, he or she was able to get only 90 percentile. In CAT 2023, the student was getting 95 percentile at the same marks. Now, this tells us about the different level of difficulty of CAT 2023 and CAT 2024 LRDI section. So nobody before the examination can predict how many marks you require to cross the barrier of 90 percentile or 95 percentile or 99 percentile. But it will be safer to say, looking at the pattern of like I would say last 5 years, like 6 years, it will be safer to say that you must attempt minimum 2 sets in CAT 2025. A minimum of 2 complete sets will definitely take you to above 90-95 percentile, right? A minimum. So I'm saying a minimum. So our target should be a minimum of 2 sets, right? And it can go as high as 3 sets or 4 sets, or maybe all the sets that will come in CAT 2025 according to your understanding, according to your proficiency in LRDI section, right? Now, after knowing all these facts, still the question in our mind is still there, that how to select a set in LRDI section, right? Now, I would say that there are 5 different parameters according to me, which will help you in deciding if I have to select this set or if I have to leave this particular set. Now, these 5 parameters can differ from person to person, can differ from like a person to person based on your performance, based on your preparation, based on your understanding for logical reasoning or data interpretation, or both logical reasoning and data interpretation, right? So I will divide this particular thing in 2 different parts. This is not a single section because this comprises of 2 different types of questions, 2 different types of data sets, or in fact, I'll not say 2 different type of data sets. I'll call it 3 different types of data sets. One is purely logical reasoning, one is purely data interpretation, one is somewhere stuck between them, logical data interpretation. If I'm saying logical data interpretation, I understand, I know that you know the complete meaning of logical data interpretation, what it actually is. It consists of logics, it consists of numbers as well. right? So it is logical data interpretation. If you want to have a complete idea about logical data interpretation, then look at those bar graph sets. There were two sets in CAT 2024 slot number 1. There were bar graphs, there were small numbers, but there was plenty of logic that was used in those two sets. All right. Now let's talk about these 5 parameters one by one, which will help you in selecting a set in data interpretation and logical reasoning section of CAT 2025. So the first parameter according to me is logical reasoning versus data interpretation, right? In which of these sections I'm strong at. So logical reasoning, when it has like topics like arrangements, scheduling. So we saw a set of scheduling in CAT 2023 where you'll have to arrange in different slots that a visa set. Okay, so scheduling. Then we have games, which we have seen in the last year. We have questions on tournaments, right? We have questions on routes and networks. Okay, so these are some common areas that are tested under logical reasoning. So are we good at all these topics or not, right? Then in data interpretation, you may get different type of sets like missing data. You may get questions on different types of graphs. Like the last year, we have seen candlestick, bubble charts, bar graphs, line charts. So the data can be given to you in any of the forms. It's just that the set is full of calculations, right? So if you are good at logical reasoning, if you are good at data interpretation, this is one parameter that you should have in front to decide if I want to pick up a particular set or not. In fact, this is one thing that will help you at the beginning of the section. So once VARC is over, you are going to start with logical reasoning and data interpretation section, right? So we are in a dilemma from where to start with. So let's say if I'm strong in data interpretation, right? I think that over the last few years, the sets of data interpretation have been easier as compared to logical reasoning. The sets of data interpretation are less time consuming as compared to logical reasoning, right? Then I can go towards logical reasoning. On the other hand, if I'm very strong at all these reasoning things, if my logical reasoning is wonderful, I generally take less amount of time in this and I get stuck in calculations. I don't understand graphs. I'm not able to understand those experimental graphs which were given in CAT 2024, like candlestick or bubble charts. I get fumbled by looking at a lot of data which is in the form of numbers. Then I must go towards logical reasoning. Okay. Now, friends, focus on each and every word that I have mentioned in the last 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, that is very important. Focus on each and every word that I have mentioned. Now, any of these problems you may face, right? Okay, so it is not necessary that you are facing all the problems that I have mentioned in data interpretation or all the problems that I have mentioned for logical reasoning. No, you may be facing one or two of those problems, right? And I would say that this particular problem is enough not to select a set of data interpretation or logical reasoning over the other area. All right, fine. So this is how we can use this first parameter, logical reasoning versus data interpretation, right? And we can begin the section with any of these areas of our choice, right? Now, moving further, the next thing is obviously my strength and my weakness, right? Now, every student would like to start with the strength. Now, it may not be necessary that your strength is the entire DI section or your strength is the entire logical reasoning section. Now, in logical reasoning section, again, we have different areas, we have different topics, like I have mentioned on the previous screen. Okay, so we have starting from arrangements, distributions, selections, scheduling. Okay, so these are similar kind of questions. So I'll mention here, let's say arrangements, distribution, right? Arrangements, distributions. Distributions will also include puzzles, right? Then we have scheduling, okay, right? Then we have selection or team formation, right? So all these topics I will keep in a same category, okay? Then after that we have games, we have tournaments of different types. Let's say knockout, we have round robin, we have hybrid tournaments, right? We have questions in which a table is given, which will give you the total number of matches, the number of matches win, the losses, the number of draws, the points, and goals against. All these things are there in these type of questions. Now after that we have roots and networks. Now, sometimes the questions of roots and networks are very easy, but sometimes there are like lengthy, very huge calculations where you'll have to optimize the distance traveled or the time taken, right? You will have to explore the different possibilities of going from one city to another city. You will have to explore different modes of transportation of going from one city to another city. So the set may get complex as well, right? Now, after roots and networks, you may have questions on Venn diagrams as well, right? So Venn diagrams, I can keep in, like, I'm not keeping it in, I would say, logical reasoning or data interpretation, because right now we are not talking about logical reasoning or data interpretation. We are talking about your strengths or your weaknesses. Now, in Venn diagrams, now, sometimes we have a confusion that using which of the parameters, for which of the parameters we should be drawing a Venn diagram, right? So let's say there are some boys and some girls given, right? Now, some of these students in the class, they like physics, some of these students like chemistry, some of these students like mathematics, right? So I'm just giving you a very basic example. So it is very difficult to decide, do we have to draw a Venn diagram for girls and boys? Do we have to draw the Venn diagram for girls and boys separately? Do we have to draw the Venn diagram for physics, chemistry, and mathematics as a single Venn diagram? So what will be the different parameters of a particular Venn diagram? It is confusing, right? So Venn diagrams is, you can find this type of questions. You may find Venn diagram questions on 3 set or 4 set Venn diagrams. You may get questions on maxima and minima on Venn diagrams, right? So I can say that it's not an area, logical reasoning or data interpretation, that can be my strength or my weakness. It can be any of these topics which can be my strength or weakness in logical reasoning or in data interpretation, right? So in logical reasoning, let's say I'm not good with arrangements, I'm not good with scheduling, right? But I'm good with team formation. I'm good with handling the statements like if, then, else. All right. So if A is selected, then B is not selected. If A gets selected, B will also be selected. If and only if statements. So I understand those kind of statements, right? So if I see a set on team formation, I'll go for that, right? If I'm good with knockout, I'm not good with round robin. Okay, so I'm now talking about a particular topic. In a particular topic of games and tournaments, I may be comfortable with one category of with one category of topics, with one category of questions. I'm not comfortable with another topic, another subtopic. So games and tournaments, it has different subtopics as well. I may be comfortable in one of these subtopics. I may not be comfortable in the other, right? Okay, so these can be like the areas of strengths and weaknesses, and you must identify them before your CAT examination. I would say that you must identify these areas in the month of August, right? So already the test series has started. 3 tests are already conducted. Depends on you how many tests you have written. But I wanted to conduct this particular session once the students have written minimum 3 or 4 mock tests. So friends, if you are watching this session right now, ensure that before this session, you have written 3 to 4 mock tests. Then you will be able to understand this session in a much better way. All right. If you haven't written 3 mock tests up till now, please stop this session right away and watch the recording of this session after 1 week. This is my recommendation to all of you, right? So strengths, in the month of August, you must make a list of all your strength areas and weak areas. So let's say these 5 are my strength areas, these 6 are my weak areas. Okay, so simultaneously, while you are working on your weaknesses, you are also improving your strengths as well. You are also working on your strengths as well. So strengths, whatever strengths you have, they'll keep getting stronger. And out of these 6 or 7 weak areas that you have, week by week, right? Every 7 days, every 10 days, one of these weaknesses will convert it in your strength, or at least it will not remain your weakness if you'll start working on these weaknesses, right? Now, towards CAT in the month of November, either you will not have any weakness, or you will be able to make a proper bifurcation between your areas in which you are very strong in and the areas in which you are average or you are weak, right? So target those areas, target those sets in which you are very strong at, right? Because the first 15 minutes are deciding, will decide the course of your performance for the next 40 minutes. All right. So friends, moving on to the third criteria, the length of the set. Now, this is one criteria using which you don't have to actually enter the set. You can take a decision even before entering the set, right? So if the set is very lengthy, so it has 4 or 5 graphs, or maybe 3 graphs, 2 different types of tables, right? A lot of parameters, a lot of instructions, a lot of conditions are there. Then you can, for the time being, leave that set. So this is also one criteria using which you can pick the first set of your section, of your LRDI section. So when you start, just go for a set which is less lengthy or short in length, right? So I can say that this particular thing will help you at the start of the section, right? And you don't have to read, entire set, right? Criteria like number of graphs in a DI set. So let's say you have 3 graphs, you have 4 graphs, you'll have to establish a correlation between them. Then why to enter this set as the first set? Why to even start your LRDI section with this set, wherein you have lots of parameters, lots of data to handle, which will definitely take time for the interpretation, right? Okay, so this is the third criteria. Now, my dear friends, moving on to the fourth criteria, which is graphs versus caselets. So I have a question of data interpretation and I have a table drawn in front of me. Or if I'll convert the same table in the form of a caselet, right? Then which of these two things is easier to interpret? One in the form of graph, one in the form of table, or the same graph or the same table converted in the form of a caselet? So I can say that in data interpretation, graphs are easier to handle. I would not say easier, but graphs are faster to interpret as compared to a caselet in data interpretation, right? So if you have a caselet, let's say arithmetic caselet, algebraic caselet, right? Or any kind of caselet on data interpretation, then first of all, you will have to convert that information which is given in the form of English into a table, right? So that may consume good amount of time for you. Now, I'm not saying that caselets are difficult, but caselets are time consuming. So once again, you can give preference to a graph over caselet, right? So this is one another way in which I can select a particular set in LRDI section. And last but not the least, a very important factor, that is bullet versus paragraph. This is one very small thing that generally we ignore, but generally it is very helpful. Now I'll compare that. So let's say you have a set on arrangements or distributions, okay? And like in one case, you are given the entire information in the form of paragraph, right? So different sentences separated by only full stops. They are not going to the second line, the next line, even like they are remaining the same line, and everything, all the information, all the instructions, all the conditions are given in the form of paragraph. On the other hand, the same set of instructions are converted into bullet forms. Condition number 1, condition number 2, condition number 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Now, which one of these data is easier to handle? Obviously, the data that is in the form of bullets. Why? Because when the data is in the form of paragraph, we sometimes get fumbled while we are reading these statements, right? So once we have read one statement, once we have read one condition, and we want to start the next condition. So after reading first condition, let's say I will insert the information in the table, then I'll go back to the information, I'll go back to the paragraph. Now, sometimes in this procedure, we tend to miss some of the information that is given in the paragraph, and that creates confusion, right? So the information which is given in the form of bullets, point number 1, 2, 3, 4, or in the form of bullets, these are easier to handle. The data looks less clumsy, less confusing. And yes, if I have this particular thing, if everything is given in the form of paragraph, I'll give it a second preference, right? So I'll give preference to bullets over the paragraphs. So my dear friends, these are different 5 parameters that you can use during the examination, right? In order to select the set, right? And these parameters can also be helpful in selecting a set from where you will have to start, or you are going to start your LRDI section, right? So use any of these parameters. Now the fact is, it may not be possible for you to apply all the learnings in a single mock paper. So write a mock, try to apply this strategy of selection of a set in the mock. In case you feel that at the end of 2 hours of mock, you were not able to apply this particular strategy in those 40 minutes in LRDI section, then do a proper analysis, right? Now, while analysis, try and go for the set selection, right? So if you are unable to apply it during the live mock, you can apply the same thing. You can prioritize these sets when you are doing the analysis using the same 5 criteria, right? So that will help you in practicing this strategy for the next mock. Let's say in the next mock, once again, in the live mock, you are unable to apply. So apply it in the analysis and then keep doing it. And definitely after 3 to 4 mocks, you will be able to apply some of these learnings in the live mock paper as well, right? Now, my dear friends, one of the final questions that students will ask me, sir, how much time should we spend in a set before actually leaving it? Now, first of all, I'll call this particular time the minimum time that we spend on a set or on any question. I'll call this particular time a threshold time, right? Threshold. Now, in a question of quant, this threshold time is very less because generally the questions of quants are one-liner or two-liner, basically very small in length. All right. And just by looking at the question of quant, we are able to categorize it from the topic where it has been asked. So if it's an algebra question or an arithmetic question, if it's an algebra, is it the question of functions or progressions or linear equations or quadratic equations or logarithms? It is easy to identify. But This is not the case in logical reasoning data interpretation. Data interpretation you can still recognize by looking at the data, the graph, but in logical reasoning, you will have to enter the set. All right, just by looking at it in 5 seconds, you cannot find out the topic from which it has been asked. So you will have to at least spend 30 seconds to 45 seconds, right? So this is the first time frame. Spend 30 seconds to 45 seconds on a set and find out from which topic it has been asked. All right. So to identify the topic, you can spend 30 to 45 seconds, and in 30 to 45 seconds, let's say in like after reading one paragraph, you will be able to find out from which area this question has been asked. Is it from logical reasoning? Is it from data interpretation? If it is from logical reasoning, is it from arrangements, distributions, games and tournaments, Venn diagrams, roots and networks? You will be able to identify, you will be able to do this in 30 to 45 seconds, even sometimes less than that. All right. Now, let's say after 30 to 45 seconds, you got to know that this particular set is from my weakest area, right? But on the contrary, the length of the set is very less, right? So a confusion will be created in your mind. Or let's say after these 30 to 45 seconds, you get to understand that this is from my strength area, right? And now you decide to enter. Now, after entering, you get to know that this is a very difficult set. Okay, so these two situations will put you in a confusion. I'll write both these situations. So it is from my weak area, but the set is easy or short. Okay, so it's from my weak area, but the set is easy or it's short, or it's from my strong area, it's my strength, but the set is difficult or it is long. So what will I do in this scenario, right? So first of all, I'll choose my strength over my weakness. Definitely, I'll do that. Fine. Now, let's say in any of these cases, I tend to select that set because of the easy nature of the set, because of the easy language of the set, because of the length of the set, I'll select it, or because of the strength. Then after entering, after these 30 to 45 seconds, how much more time I should be spending on a set in order to take the final decision if I have to complete this set or not. Now, generally, it takes 10 to 12 minutes for a student, right, before he or she decides and leave the set. I would say that 10 to 12 minutes is a lot of time, because 10 to 12 minutes after this 1 minute, right? So you have already spent more than 33% of your time. 33% of time has already been spent and you are leaving this set. So I would say that reduce this time a little bit. Okay, now why we stretch up to 10 to 12 minutes? Sometimes it becomes 15 minutes, and after 15 to 16 minutes, we tend to leave a set. Now, why it happens? Because we are confused for all these 10 to 12 minutes. For each and every moment of these 10 to 12 minutes, we are confused in our mind. Okay, so we are confused. We are not able to take a step. We are not able to take a decision of coming out of the set. So what is our psychology for these 10 minutes? So after 30 to 45 seconds, we selected the set, right? Now in the next 3 minutes, next 3 to 4 minutes, once we have read the set, okay, so we have made the structure of the set and we are, let's say, confused. We are not sure about the set. Okay, so now we'll look back and see we have already spent 4 to 5 minutes on this set. So why to waste these 4 to 5 minutes? Let's spend another 3 to 4 minutes and then I'll decide. Okay, so now another 3 to 4 minutes I'll wait. I'll try and do something. I'll try to crack this set, and another 3 to 4 minutes will pass. So now after a total of 9 to 10 minutes spending time on this set, we are again confused, and now we start thinking, oh my God, I have already spent 9 to 10 minutes. If I'll come out of this set, it will be a huge loss for me. And because of these 9 to 10 minutes, I tend to spend another 3 to 4 minutes. And this keeps on happening. And we tend to waste 15 to 20 minutes on a single set. Then the panic mode starts. So now we have wasted 15 to 20 minutes, which is approximately half of the time that we get for the entire section. And now we are under a pressure of attempting 2 or 3 sets in the remaining 20 minutes, and which leads to a collapse in this section. Now, collapse in LRDI section, you will take this hangover to the next section, and you will also not do well in the quant section. So how to avoid getting into this situation? So I would say that after spending 30 to 45 seconds, in the next 3 to 4 or maybe 5 minutes, whenever you get a feeling that you are nowhere in this set is getting difficult, this set is getting confusing, whenever you have this feeling for the first time in your mind, that is the time to take an exit from the set immediately after that. Because you have already given 3, 4, 5 minutes, you have given ample amount of time, and still if you are nowhere in the set, I'm saying nowhere in the set, then you must leave it and you must start looking at for the next set selection, right? So this is the right time. The threshold time for LRDI set is 3 minutes, 4 minutes, maximum 5 minutes in total, right? Which is only 1/8 of your entire section time. Okay, right? Do not waste your 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes, because if you will devote first 10 minutes to one set, then it will be difficult for you to come out of that set. So it's always better if you are nowhere in a set, leave it in the first 3 to 4 minutes. That will be advantageous for you, right? Now in quant, this time maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds or 1 minute or maximum 2 minutes. So after 1.5 to 2 minutes, if you are nowhere in the question of quant, you must take an exit. But this time is 4 to 5 minutes for a set on LR and DI. So friends, this is all about a proper strategy of selecting a set in CAT examination in the LRDI section, and after how much time we should take an exit from a set if we are nowhere in the set. All right. So my dear friends, I hope this particular strategy will help you in the upcoming mocks and hence in the CAT examination. Now, this particular strategy will only help you if you start implementing. It will not help you in the first mock you will write after attending this session. Now, it will take 4 to 5 mocks, at least 4 to 5 mocks to for you to start implementing this strategy and start having benefits from this particular strategy. All right. So friends, all the very best with this strategy and the LRDI section and the entire mock paper and CAT examination. Best of luck. I'll see you again. Have a good time. Bye-bye.